We've got a very special edition of the BarDown Podcast today. We don't have many guests that come in here, but today we've got one of the biggest beauties I think we know, and the author of Certified Beauties, James Duthie, ladies and gentlemen.
Give him a round of applause. There you go.
I need to apologize right off the top because I wanted to bring books for each one of you guys, for Riz on the buttons, for Thomas, for Luca. But here's a weird thing you don't know about books. Like you figure if you wrote a book, you'd have like an unlimited supply of the books.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't. You get I found this out when I wrote my first book. They give you 10 books. And then when I wrote the first Beauties, I had to negotiate for more books. This is part of your negotiation.
Contract negotiations.
Right. Because there's 50 stories in there with 100 different guys. And so I have to send them books, right? I owe it to Sidney Crosby or whoever to send them a book if they're going to give me their time. So the last book I wrote, I ran out of books. And, my mom wants one for Christmas, right? And I had to go buy my own book, which is the most embarrassing thing ever, is you go to the store and if the Indigo person recognizes you and you're carrying 5 of your own books, you feel like the biggest geek ever. What is this how you boost sales? So the guy's looking at me behind the counter and I'm like, yeah, long story.
They didn't give me enough.
Yeah, so I went to bring you books today, and I had literally one book left in my thing. So now I'm out of books. So now I'm going to have to go buy my own book again. So
I mean, I feel very honored that we got the last one.
Yeah,
here.
last copy.
You can pass it around.
Maybe we got to go into chapters and just kind of raid the hockey section and grab a couple.
Yeah.
But.
Indigo's definitely a Christmas store that I'm always at for sure.
Well, maybe you'll see him.
Yeah, I'll be there.
We'll be both
buying copies for the family. Sad.
I love it.
What a sad life.
I don't know if that's...
No, it's not.
That's amazing.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh,
thanks for coming on.
We appreciate the time.
I don't come downtown from Aurora, Ontario very often. It's a haul.
Well, we appreciate the time. Yeah. Let's start back in the early days. How did you get into hockey growing up? Who were your favorite players, teams growing up? Earliest hockey memories?
Okay, perfect. So first of all, I was behind. I was always kind of a failed hockey player because I lived in Victoria.
Okay.
And Victoria, we play soccer the soccer season. You guys play soccer?
Yeah, I played soccer.
Yeah, I played soccer.
So our soccer season in Victoria was October to April.
Oh, okay.
Now maybe that's changed, but that's what it was for me because the weather's like that there. So it's just you play kind of through rain.
It's kind of like the European calendar.
And so I didn't play hockey. So when I moved to Ottawa, I was 8 and I did not know how to skate. And so my dad signed me up for house league when I was 8, and my dad was kind of cheap, so he didn't buy me a jock because he said I didn't need it because nobody could raise the puck. So
did you ever get hit?
Oh yeah, I always say all children are miracles, but my 3 are definitely miracles. So I didn't have a jock, and I got those I don't know. You guys have probably done bits on. The molded skates of back in the day, Micron mascots, so these skates were just ski boots, basically, because I had weak ankles, and that's what I always wore, the Micron mascots, and so I wasn't very good. I sort of got decent when I was 13 or 14, and then I quit and decided. My dad said you can only ski or play hockey. I'm not going to pay for both, and I changed and went skiing. So I have a very undecorated hockey career.
Playing career.
Yeah, playing careers, definitely. I went back in university. I was leading scorer on our co-ed rec team at university, so that's my only claim to fame. I became a pure sniper.
There we go.
The journalism school team at Carleton, which wasn't exactly full of athletes either. I'm afraid to say.
What was your game? Who did you model it after in those days?
Oh, I was the biggest cherry picker ever.
That's how you got to. As you get older and you get into the beer league, that's how you got to play.
Yeah, I was an embarrassment.
But
must. To your other question, I moved around a lot when I was a kid because my dad was RCMP, and my parents lived in Edmonton for a while, and their next door neighbor was a guy named Cliff Coro who played for the Chicago Blackhawks. He was on Stan Mikita's line. So the Blackhawks were my first love. I still get a visceral reaction when I see the white Blackhawks jerseys because that was when I first started falling in love with sports with the Blackhawks. And so that was my first team. And then I moved to Ottawa, and Denis Potvin played for the Ottawa 67s, and he became my favorite player, and that's the only team I could go see. So when he got drafted by the Islanders became my team, and it was perfect. I looks like such a bandwagon dude because the Niners are my favorite football team because Ronnie Lott was my favorite college player, and the Islanders because of Denny Potvin. So I kind of jumped on both of those teams in like 1980, and the Niners won 4 Super Bowls and the Islanders won 4 Stanley Cups. So I was walking.
What a run!
Yeah, it was like an unbelievable run.
Going to school the next day.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's my
so
team.
Big Islanders guy and obviously a big Niners guy.
Nice, I like it.
And then how did that kind of transform into, obviously, you talked about not having a decorated hockey career, but it's definitely a very decorated media career. Was that always the pathway for you? Did you always kind of fall in love with that from the get-go?
Yeah, for sure. I was delusional. So football became kind of my my true love. I've talked about it a lot with you guys. I know we share that passion. And I was a cornerback and a wide receiver. I think we only had 24 guys on our high school football team. So there's like 8 guys going both ways. And I thought for sure that I would play in the CFL or the NFL. If you look at my high school yearbook, it says James plans to go to Clemson and play for the 49ers because Clemson was my favorite college team because the cheerleaders had paws on their faces, and that was my dream to always date a girl with a paw on her face. And
I love it. That's so so specific.
Sometimes, on a Saturday night, I get the wife to do that up in Aurora just to mix things up a little bit. But yeah, so I literally thought I was gonna play pro, and McGill was the only school that recruited me heavy, and I was gonna go to McGill and try to play soccer and football.
Oh wow!
And then at the last second, I was gonna take phys ed and be a gym teacher. And at the last second, I don't know. I guess I had this little moment of, no offense to gym teachers, I love gym teachers, but I wanted to do something more, and so I had applied to journalism at Carleton, and I decided to chase like the sportscaster.
What was your favorite high school football game that you ever played in?
Oh, that is a great question. So St. Pius was the #1 school in my last year of high school, and Gloucester we hadn't been very good at football in a long time, but we had a decent team, and we beat Pius on and I caught a bomb from Eric O'Brien, our quarterback, and I had the gloves and everything, and the DB just totally misjudged it, like completely, and then I remembered like 2 guys chasing me, like I probably caught it at the 40 from our own 20. And then I was doing like that zigzag as the guy was chasing me because I wasn't super fast, but I was quick. And going into the end zone, and we beat Pius like 22-21 was like one of my favorite things ever.
That's electric.
Yeah.
High school football is so fun. It's the best. Like, you talk about high school football forever.
Nothing. Probably one of your favorite years of your life, right?
Yep.
And then when I went to Carleton, you couldn't play football and take journalism really because a lot of the projects were at night. And not saying that I would have been, decent or whatever, but so I think it was my prof who told me you can't play football and take journalism and pass. So I never played in university. Just played touch like you guys.
I was going to ask you,
baby. Touch your flag.
Hey.
Are you aware that on your Wikipedia page it says that you are a standout in the MTTFL?
Yeah,
Former standout in the
guys
MTTFL.
So I've never understood Wikipedia because there's some
you can edit it.
There's some complete falsehoods in there, but stuff comes up that's actually really true. Like there was something in there that I got knocked out in a game in the Toronto League, which I did. I got completely knocked out in a championship game, coming across the middle. I just went head to head with the guy.
Oh my God!
And the next thing I remember, I was on the sidelines, and they told me that I was walking on all fours around midfield, like gurgling, which is a horrible picture. And that was, that was a bad. I had a bad concussion. Then the same year, I got one snowboarding, and Bob McKenzie was always worried that year because I was having trouble coherently stringing thoughts together on the air, and he was expecting me to just not be able to speak one time in the middle of a show. So. Yeah.
Did he sit you down and was like, no more football, no more
we need
snowboarding?
This is the important team right here.
If you look back at tapes that year, it'll be like, welcome to the first dinner. Where are we? It was a little dicey for a while, but glory days. But isn't it true? Like, do you remember, how athletes always say you remember the losses, like Tom Brady will say you remember losses more than championships. I have 2 crushing losses in my touch flag football career. One was the provincial final, the Ontario finals. It was played at Lansdowne Park now, whatever TD Place where the Red Blacks play. And I got a touchdown with 20 seconds left to put us ahead. And it, touch football, you can't score with 20 seconds left. Mm-hmm. I went to the sidelines, opened a beer. We were celebrating. They took the kickoff to like the 35. They threw one pass to midfield. And they threw a Hail Mary. We had 5 guys in the end zone, and their guy caught it.
Oh my.
And I was already drinking my beer, celebrating on the sidelines, and we lost the game on a Hail Mary. And I should dig this up. I have like a VHS copy of this, which I should show you guys. It's unbelievable to watch. And the other one was a city championship where same situation. We were on our own 20 with like 20 seconds left, done, finished, behind. And one of my best buddies, who sadly has now passed away, was our wide receiver, and they hardly ever threw to him. But like everybody was covered, and so my quarterback just heaved one up, and the 2 DBs hit each other and fell down. And my guy Mark caught it, and he was gone. And I was running down the middle of the field, and there was the other team was stopped running. So, but Mark was like right on the sidelines running, and the ref was running behind him, and he was sprinting, and I'm like, Mark, cut in, because there's no one there.
Yeah.
But I think he thought the ref was a pursuing player, so he was just focused, and he stepped out of bounds on the 5-yard line.
Oh, no.
And we had no time left on the clock. And there was no one within 40 yards of him.
Oh my God.
So it was like the worst moment ever, but it became a running gag. This is like my best friend, Mark.
Yeah.
Like through our when he got married, we made a video recreating the scene and everything. So, but it's weird. Those moments like haunt me to this day. So if you guys have moments like that, just know that when you're old like me, you're going to still be thinking about them.
I feel like I definitely do. I remember the high school ones more, like championship or like semifinals of, I guess it was OFSA at that time. And
this is football?
St. Andrews College. Yeah, we were there. Great game against them. They ran like a trick play. Got a touchdown on it to beat us. We were all heartbroken, devastated.
You still will be, just so you know.
Yeah, no, that's
forever.
Not. It's only gonna get worse. I feel like when you look back on them. But those are the memories that they're the best at the same time, which is so funny.
Yeah,
I love football. Do you still play?
So I stopped when I was 50. I was getting hurt.
Too much.
And I love golf. That's my other passion. I've told you guys.
Yeah.
And golf I was getting football, people laugh at flag football and touch football. Ray Ferraro always gives me a hard time. But you guys know it takes a toll on your body.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
And
it does.
I had played since I was 20 basically, and I was playing for 3 teams for a while, playing 100 games a year.
That's amazing.
And your body's just like wrecked. And so I think I broke my finger in some beer league, and I said, no, I couldn't play golf for 6 months, and I'm like, why? What am I doing here?
That was the one.
And I'll say one other thing to you. When you guys still play, right?
Yeah.
My body feels better now than it did in my 30s playing football, because it's just because all I really do now is play golf, which you can control your movements and such. So, yeah, when you do end up quitting, don't quit, by the way. Play as long as you can. But my body feels so much better now than it did playing football.
I'm looking forward to those days.
You always had a pulled groin, pulled this, or a pulled that, or
I feel like
broken
this finger's like a little more bent.
I had
a lot of bent fingers.
Sticking in every direction.
Ton of bent fingers. That's the classic football injury right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about certified beauties here. I know it's probably a question you get a lot, but your standout story from this edition of this book.
Well, I told it we were at Grey Cup, right?
Yeah, we told it, which I figured.
Which one did I tell you that?
You told us a one about
the
Kachuk.
You want me to tell that one again?
Yeah.
Or?
That was a good one.
That was a really good one. I mean,
I don't know if we can get top, but that was definitely.
Well, that's the first one in the book. That's the first chapter of the book. So for I have a short attention span. I know everybody this day has a short attention span. So when I wrote the first Beauties, my idea was to write short stories that people could read, and they could toss the book aside and use it as a coaster or whatever, and then pick it up like a week later and read another one. And so I just asked guys to tell me one awesome story. So I always say, like, if we were sitting down, the 3 of us, with we had a chance to sit down with whoever, Sidney Crosby, for a beer, I say, just Sid, tell me like the story that you tell your buddies or your teammates. If I asked you, like, tell me the best story in your career. And it can be anything. It can be a crazy game. Could be something happen off the ice. Can be anything. You get a lot of pranks and funny stuff like that. So yeah, Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk are both in the book with a bunch of nutty stories. But the Brady Tkachuk one was pretty good. Basically, he walked into the dressing room one day and his sticks were all taped together, like with 20 rolls of tape. And so somebody pranked him. So he figures it's Claude Giroux, because I guess he has a running thing going with Claude Giroux. So he says, I got to get even. And they're about to go out for practice. He goes and he takes a hacksaw and cuts on the shaft of 4 of Giroux's sticks. And I didn't know this. Could be a BarDown thing. This is like a Corwin thing. I guess if you cut sort of part of the shaft, the shaft like loses all its strength and will snap. I never knew this before. I don't know where it is on the shaft. Yeah, you get a little saw into the shaft and it breaks. So he figures Giroux will go out. He'll snap like 3 sticks. He's got a temper. He'll take a little hissy fit, and everybody will laugh, and that'll be the end of it. So, but then Brady gets called into like a meeting with his coach or something and completely forgets being Brady. And Giroux must have grabbed another stick. He goes out. Nothing happens during practice. It's uneventful. So the next day they're playing the St. Louis Blues in an afternoon game, and they go out for power play like 8 minutes in. Giroux snaps a stick and then goes back to the bench, knocks a puck out of the air, snaps a stick. And Brady, by the way, sitting on the bench, has no clue. He hasn't even clued in.
That's the most Brady Tkachuk thing I've ever heard, too.
It's amazing. So there's a TV timeout. I guess the power play's over, and Giroux is snapping. And they're playing Braden Shen in the Blues, and I guess Giroux in his head, like he thinks somebody's messed with his sticks because he's never had this happen before. So he starts screaming at Shen, who's a good buddy of his. It's like, Shen, are you with my sticks? Blah, 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 blah. And that's when Brady on the bench hears that and goes, oh my God, he's using these sticks in an NHL game. Right? And so Giroux sits down next to him, and there's some details I left out, like Stützle and DeBrincat were the only guys who saw Tkachuk do this, and they're on the bench howling, laughing, and Brady's like, you got to take this to your grave, like this can never get out. But then he feels guilty, I guess, after a while, so he taps Giroux on the bench. It's like, gee, it was me. And Giroux's like, what? He's like, it was me. I cut your sticks. And Giroux, who's telling me this story, is like, what? Like, he can't even fathom this. Like, he's the pro of all pros, right? He's like, we're trying to make the playoffs in the freaking NHL. And so he didn't talk to him. And then Brady played like sick guilty and got like 4 points, and they won 8-1. So Giroux eventually forgave him. But I love the story because we would have never heard it if they lost that game.
No.
That would have been buried forever. And the other thing is, you can find like Brady sent me the clip of the game. It's on, I think it's on YouTube. You can find it somewhere, like Giroux breaking sticks. And then no one has a clue watching the game. Jamie McLennan's going, oh, Claude seems to be having some issues with his stick here, right?
Claude Giroux needs some new twigs.
He's going to snap his stick, no problem, grab one, pass through the neutral zone, bats it out of the air, breaks it off again.
But so that one's a favorite one.
It's a great one.
There's one of, I think I probably told you that night too. I hate repeating all the ones I've already told you guys, but Darcy Hordichuk captures an alligator in his backyard because he thought it was going to eat his neighbor's dog. And they duct tape its mouth, and their plan is to drive it to the Everglades and release it. But then on the way there, they decide to stop by Roberto Luongo's house and leave it on his porch. I'm just looking for the photo in here that I can put up here. I don't know. You can see there's Darcy Hordichuk with this alligator down there in the bottom corner. So, you know, when the fun part for me when I'm hearing these stories is when you hear a story like that, you know how you can sort of picture the way you're going to write it in the book. And that's just a great feeling because when I interview these guys, I have no idea most of the time what they're going to tell me. And so when you hear a story like that, you're like, oh, that's a great story to put in the book. And that's probably the funnest part for me when you're sitting down and doing this. And I always have this theory that, you know, you guys know this, like hockey players, everybody says they're boring, but they're not. If you can get them in a setting away from the scrums of the rink or the intermission interviews, they all have great stories to tell. And when you only ask for one or two, you get some great ones.
I feel like we always find that, especially like we go to certain things and we always like to do fun stuff.
Right.
I know sometimes you'll see the players walk in our room and it's almost like, oh, you mean you're not going to ask us about the power play or ask
Well,
us
that's
about...
why, and this is full credit to you guys. That's why guys love you guys, is because they're so sick of having to go in every day and what's wrong with the power play and the intermission stuff we do. And so you guys do something original with them. They friggin' love. And to a lesser extent, I think they have fun telling stories like this that they wouldn't tell. And I think it helps that, you know, it's going to be in a book, because I asked them to tell me stories they haven't told before. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they're like, I don't know if I should tell this one. And I'm like, well, yeah, you should definitely tell this
That's
one.
the one you should tell me.
That's the one you got to tell me.
100%.
There's just looking at the back, like there's so many big names in hockey, so many big personalities,
Yeah.
such a good mix of like legends, new upcoming young players.
Yeah.
Is there a guy in particular that sticks out where you're just like, man, this guy is just so many good stories.
Well, like the fighters, as you guys know, are always the best. Like TKACHUK is awesome. Jason Strudwick was awesome, because, I don't know, fighting stories are just hilarious. George Peros was very funny.
He seems like a really serious guy, too.
And he's hilarious. So one of the George Peros stories, it's sort of Brad May and George Peros. This is a goofy story, but I'll tell it fast. Brad May had just been traded the year the Ducks won the Cup, 07. Mm-hmm. Brad May gets traded, I think, from Colorado to the Ducks, and at the deadline, and he doesn't really know anything about the team. They end up at playing a golf tournament, or like an eightsome. They're playing golf and they're looking for stakes, but you know, a $20 match is no big deal for an NHL player. So one of the guys, I think it's Peros, says, we're going to play Touching Randy. And May is like, what? So Randy Carlyle, who was their coach back then, everybody knows, a thing about Randy that I never knew, like Randy doesn't like being touched.
Like,
he doesn't like people being in his like personal space.
space.
It's just a thing of his.
Okay.
Apparently this is like it.
Yeah.
So they play this golf match, and the losers have to touch Randy within like 24 hours, which sounds like it's so infantile, some of this stuff, but yet it's so funny.
It's the funniest
right?
stuff,
It's just
though.
the funniest thing ever. And Brad May's like, what? He's like, yeah, we're going to play Touching Randy. So you have to like go up and physically like hit him on the shoulder or something, which he hates. And you have to do it in front of the entire team.
Oh, that's so good.
And so May was already in the doghouse because he got hurt on his first shift. And Randy was like, well, I never wanted you, you know, like Berkey got you, but I never wanted you here. So May's like, he's in total doghouse. So they get on he's like the last guy to get on the plane. They're going on a road trip, and everyone on the plane's watching him, and he just walks by and like slams him on the shoulder. And it's like, hey, coach. And everyone's laughing at Randy's like, ah. So I guess for the rest of that year, whenever somebody lost a game of something, that's the game they played, was Touching Randy. And May and Peros are like, this, it bonded us, and you know, they go on and win the Stanley Cup and
Touching
Randy. Stupid stuff like that.
Did Carlisle like ever kind of clue in of like, these guys are wagering literally just doing something that's going to piss you
I think
off?
so, because they all talk at the same time that they loved Randy. Like, he was super tough, but he was the perfect coach for that bunch. So, you know, it was done in a loving spirit, but they just loved seeing Randy getting, like, every time somebody touched him,
Just skittish.
Yeah, get really skittish about it. So yeah, Peros was hilarious. Like, all the guys are good. But the fighters can tell you stories forever. Zen and Konopka.
Oh, that's a name right there.
I phoned to get one story off of him, and 4 hours later, we were still on the phone. He played for 19 teams, had 17 broken noses, and the guy has pet bunnies. I think the chapter's called 19 teams, 17 broken noses, 2 pet bunnies. And I ended up writing a story from every one of his stops because I really wanted to tell the story of a journeyman, like a short story, because he just has stories coming out as, you know what, it's unbelievable. So it's hard to pick one guy, but yeah, it's true. I'd have some young players in here. There's a Celebrini chapter, which I love, and Cole Caulfield's in here, and a bunch of guys like that. Blake Coleman has a great chapter. He basically got an infection, Tampa's second straight cup, in his elbow. And during like the parade, kind of found out, and they took him to the hospital, or no, just before the parade, and they said, you could lose your arm if you don't stay in here and get IV. And he said, no, I'm going to the parade. So, and they told him like he could die, but he said, there's no way I'm going to the parade. And then basically went to the parade drank his face off and ran back to the hospital, and
I'm sure that was good for the
it's crazy. So anyway, there's
incredible.
a lot of fun stories in there.
Given it's called Certified Beauties, we wanted to ask you, who is the biggest beauty in hockey in your opinion? If you had maybe a Mount Rushmore of beauties.
So we're talking like
Four.
Players,
Like, coaches. You know what? Personalities,
anyone you've kind of encountered.
Open
under
the imagination.
under the definition of beauty that this book is. And people say, what is a beauty? I mean, I think it fits. Sometimes it's just like, the way the guy, like Sidney Crosby, I think is a beauty just because of who he is and the way he conducts himself, and then there's Zenon Konopka as a beauty in the more traditional sense of the word. So, gosh, I got to go back to my first book now to think about it. Like, well, I tell you what, Terry Ryan is going to be on my Mount Rushmore. His chapter in this book is insane. If you don't know Terry Ryan, first round pick of the Habs who faded out. Let me tell you a quick Terry Ryan story. Sorry, I know we're probably going over, but
we got all the time.
Terry Ryan, he kind of flamed out. He was a fighter / skill player who flamed out. But one of my favorite Terry stories is he played ball hockey, and his career was kind of fading. He was looking for a contract. And he got signed, Dallas signed him to like a PTO, basically. He knew he was going to end up in the minors. And he was playing ball hockey like a few weeks before he was supposed to go and fell and knocked all his teeth sideways. They were basically hanging out. And so the dental bill was going to be like $5,000. So he said, I'll wait till I get to Dallas. It's the NHL. They cover everything there. So he gets to Dallas, and the doctor's like, yeah, you did this before you were with us, so we can't cover this. And so he gets assigned to, I can't remember the minor league team, I should know this, Iowa or somewhere, to go play. And the trainer there says, yeah, we can't cover it either. And he says, well, what if it happened in a game? And they said, oh yeah, then we cover it. So they go to a team party. He decides he's going to knock his own teeth out. So he goes to a team party. They have a bunch of beers, and now the players are wagering on this. And he grabs a sledgehammer and basically takes a sledgehammer to his mouth and knocks out all his teeth.
Oh my God.
And the guys are all cheering and stuff. Puts the teeth in his pocket. They have a morning skate the next day. Now he's got to sneak in with his head down because his face is a mess. And before anybody gets there, he's like saying hi to the trainers and stuff, gets dressed, goes on the ice. One of his teammates is an accomplice with him. Skates behind the net. His teammate fires a puck nowhere near him off the glass, and he just tumbles to the ice like he got hit in the face and chucks all his teeth on the ice. So the trainers are all out there going, holy cow, Terry. And he's like, yeah, it's all gone. And he's like, man, you're a lucky bastard, though. We're going to be able to fix it now, and got all his teeth fixed that way. So Terry Ryan goes on my Mount Rushmore.
That's phenomenal. Hockey players are just different.
I'm going to put Mike Johnson on there because you wouldn't think of Mike Johnson that way, but Mike Johnson is in about 4 chapters of this book, and he's in both my books, and he bugs me every day that he should be getting residuals for this book. So MJ deserves it because I think he's been in a bunch of books. O-Dog, just because I work next to him, he might go on my Mount Rushmore too because I get to sit next to him every night. And, I'll put Biz on there because Biz has helped me with both of these books. So that's a very unofficial 4. I could come up with a lot more, but those are 4 pretty good ones.
I love it.
Can I say you guys messed up one of my stories in this book, and not really, but you played a factor.
Did we?
Yeah. Is that, well, not you guys per se, but BarDown.
Oh, I got to hear that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Chicklets and BarDown are both like very helpful because, you guys tell stories and hockey stories. Chicklets is the same, but then sometimes I'll do a story for a book, and then so there's a chapter in this book about a beer league team that plays against McDavid and Draisaitl.
Oh,
and that happened 2 summers ago.
Okay,
and it's one of my favorite chapters in the book. And I won't tell all the twists of the story, but that was basically they're having a beer. It's the quarterfinals, the league up in Newmarket, and they're having a beer in the parking lot. And they're wondering, it was like 3 days after McDavid got married. And there's a team, as you guys know, that's a bunch of McDavid's buddies that play in the league. And once in a while, McDavid shows up once every couple of years. So they're like, is he going to show up? He just got married. He's not going to show up. And it's the quarterfinals. Last second, they're about to go in. The SUV pulls into the parking lot. McDavid gets out, and they're like, "Oh crap!" And then Draisaitl gets out the passenger door, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And the twist was their goalie didn't show up, as beer league often happens. So they had to call their second goalie, who's a kid named Ben, who had just gotten off the ice from a 2-hour skate. He's at Harvard now playing. And they're like, "Yeah, Ben, we need you. Our goalie didn't show up. Also, we're playing Draisaitl and McDavid." And Ben's like, "Holy crap!" Like he's exhausted, but he's like, "I gotta go." So he has to whip over to the arena, and he says he gets on the ice late. They had to delay the game 15 minutes, and Draisaitl and McDavid are standing against the boards, waiting for him to get on the ice.
Oh my god.
Anyway, the reason I blame you guys is they showed up for another game this year, and I guess Bart, I don't know, you guys were there.
We had somebody.
We had
there.
someone there.
You just had somebody there, and so as soon as it came out, I'm like, okay, now my story's not going to be as special anymore because BarDown was at the game. But this is a very different story, and it has a crazy ending to it. The game goes to overtime, 3-on-3. I won't give up anymore. But
I remember
one of
you
my
telling me
favorite
this story,
Yeah.
and
One of
I'm
my
excited for people to read that one
of my
especially.
favorites. Yeah.
Sorry, we ruined it a little
No,
bit.
you didn't really. I only cursed you. I love you guys all the time. I only cursed you that one day. Damn that
Yeah, that's
BarDown.
fair. That's
Stay
fair.
away from my book stories.
Only if we're gonna move the books to the front.
That's right.
Then we'll
That's
right.
we'll
There you go.
be back in the bookstores.
That's right.
Let's talk Olympics a little bit because that's around the corner. You're going as I understand it, which is
it's gonna
exciting.
Be some weird hybrid panel thing that's
Yep.
gonna freak people out.
Milano Cortina is that?
Are you guys going?
I'm
No.
not. I don't think anyone is.
Can we talk to some people?
My dad wants to go because he's Italian and he's just like I've got a place to stay. I told him like just go. It would be an incredible experience.
My wife's going only to shop, which means I'm going to be the only guy at the Olympics that loses money.
I've heard Milan is an expensive city.
not going to be pretty.
How is the experience covering Olympic Games? Because for those that don't know and get to be behind the scenes.
Amazing. I was an Olympic geek as a kid. I've told this story often, but this ski jumper named Horst Buelow, who's before your time, we were actually good at ski jumping back in the 80s. Canada, believe it or not.
Okay.
And Horst Buelow went to my high school. And so, well, technically he was like friends with my sister, so I was probably in grade 8 or something, and Horst was in grade 12 or grade 13 back then. And I lived like on a little hill behind my house, a little greenbelt, and I would go on my cross-country skis and build a little ski jump. Like people actually wanted to be ski jumpers back then. That's what I would do after school every day in the winter because I loved Horst Buelow. Anyway, long-winded way of me saying I love the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was fortunate enough to host in 2010, which when people ask me my highlight, I'll still say it's going to be really tough to beat the Crosby goal. We had this cool little set that was actually built into the stands that retracted during the game. So we just sat in seats, and then the period would end, and the set would come out.
That's so cool.
So we were probably 30 feet above Ryan Miller when Crosby scored the goal.
Wow, what a view.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So those Olympics were awesome. London was awesome. I can't wait for these. The Olympics are weird though because it is. When I was doing 2010, I was hosting during the day with Lisa LaFlamme, the CTV news anchor, and then doing the hockey games at night. So I was getting 2 hours of sleep every night. Partly my problem that I would go out a little bit too because you wanted to experience the Olympics.
Right?
And that city was just
The Olympic
alive.
Village
It was
and
incredible.
everything.
I'd never seen, like Vancouver was just unbelievable for those 2 weeks. So you're exhausted and you're anybody who works in Olympics, you're counting down till it's over. And then when it's over, you wish it was never over. Right? That's kind of the way it is because it's exhausting, but it's the best memories you'll have, I think, covering sports because so much is happening at once and it's just crazy. Now, Turin, 2006 was a weird Olympics because basically at that time CBC had exclusive rights and TSN was a national rights holder. And they didn't want us in the game, so they basically did not allow. They had some sort of credential control. So Bob McKenzie and Gordon Miller and I were the 3 panelists back then, and they didn't allow us. Maybe Pierre Maguire was on, I can't remember, but they didn't allow us to. Yeah, Pierre Maguire too. They didn't give us credentials, so we had to buy tickets to the games that we were covering from scalpers. And then we would have to go outside the venues to do our panels.
That seems fake. Like
so
that's insane.
Gord had like a scalper contact, and every day he'd be like, hey man, we need 4 for the Austria game. And they'd meet somewhere and we'd go in and watch the game on scalper seats and then go outside and do the panels.
It's so funny. And that was Canada's worst performance.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Like at the Olympics.
Yeah, that was
I was devastated by that one because Sakic was wearing the C, and I was so excited for that. And it was just
was it Arturs Urbe or somebody stood on his head? Was it Urbe? One of those goalies for Swiss or Austria for like 52 saves, and that pretty much derailed us completely.
It was a tough one.
Yeah,
it was a tough one.
That
That's so funny.
Yeah,
scalper
I'm glad we didn't have the rights for that one.
yeah.
But this one's
it all
gonna
worked out.
I'm so excited just to see these guys like McDavid and McKinnon. I think it'll be. Look, it's not going to be the 3 fights in 9 seconds, 4 nations, but I think the hockey's going to be amazing.
It's like the perfect storm of you still have Crosby, who is like just growing up. I've kind of seen his whole career, and he's like, I can't think of a bigger legend in this country than him. And then you have McDavid and McKinnon in their prime, and then there's also this new narrative. Celebrini, Bedard.
I hope they make it just for the story.
Yeah, it would be so fun.
I think it'll probably just be Celebrini, but although if Bedard's leading the scoring race, how do you not at least have him as your 14th forward? Schaefer, I don't know. It's so tough because all the guys running the team are like these old guard, and I'm not criticizing them. They're right. Like they're proven right at 4 Nations, the team they brought. Mm-hmm. And the argument I would make against Bedard would be that Jack Hughes was kind of a great player, by the way, love him, but was kind of invisible at that 4 Nations because the big boys kind of took over, right? And so you might look at that and go, is that going to happen to Bedard against that level of competition? But man, I would love to see all 3 of those guys there. It'd be so cool.
Who's a guy that might be on the bubble right now? Because there are a lot of names, and I think like JT in this city is probably the most popular one that people are kind of hoping make it. But is there a guy on the bubble that you're hoping to see there? I mean,
Hyman, the Oilers are so garbage right now. Hyman makes sense. Last year, Hyman makes sense to play with McDavid, but if Hyman's not playing well at the time, you have to think about it. And then I think just all the guys at the Tampa guys, like Cirelli, I think will be on there. But who am I missing here? Like all the guys at the bottom. Suzuki, I think is going to be on there.
Yeah,
like
I think so too.
Seth Jarvis's and stuff. So I don't know. I think just the bottom end of the roster is interesting, and just the Scheifele's and the Tom Wilsons and you can make so many debates.
You can make 3 teams that could go and all like.
And I'm not going to argue against any of those guys. I'm not going to argue against Tom Wilson or Zach Hyman because they're all great. It's just hard leaving off those guys at the bottom. So I don't know. Just selfishly, I'd like to see Bedard and Celebrini and Schaefer. Same way with you guys.
I think so too.
It would be unbelievable.
It would be amazing. And the big ice too with a guy like Bedard.
No big ice though. NHL ice. Yeah, no. A lot of people don't know that, which is I've heard that 10 times from people lately. So they're going NHL ice. That was one of the conditions.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like to see. It's kind of fun to see it differently. Like you're right for somebody like a Schaefer or someone if he was playing. Big ice doesn't always end up helping Canada, so I think it's probably better for Canada and the U.S. that they play on. I guess most teams are mostly NHL players right now, so probably suits the game. I'm with you. It'd be fun to see it a little bit different, right?
Yeah,
something different than just NHL type hockey. So, but big ice, I think we've seen something like in Sochi isn't always conducive to
better,
super exciting hockey. Sometimes it's the opposite.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
So obviously so much excitement right now with the NHL players returning back to the Olympics and Canada and everything. But you mentioned earlier the love for ski jumping as a kid. Is there like an event that...
I'm coming across like, I am a nerd, but I'm really coming across like, yeah, I love ski jumping.
No, but like...
I was a big ski jumping guy back in the day with my cross-country skis behind my house.
I think we all get behind athletes from various sports in this country, especially during the Olympics. Like 2010 Vancouver was... especially with how many gold medals they won.
I fall in love with like
they were
Alex Bilodeau was like the moguls.
I'll never forget watching that. Like that's like a core memory as a kid. I'll never forget. Yeah. Is there a certain sport that maybe just from being at the Olympics and watching it up close that you've kind of gained this new appreciation for? You're just like, wow, this is phenomenal to cover.
Yeah, I mean, all of them basically. One which is the craziest one is biathlon, and I think that's the one I think is amazing because I was on the cross country ski team almost by default in high school, and that is the hardest thing I will ever do. I went to like 2 meets. I think I was the sub guy, if like somebody was sick,
Oh, I'd love to be in that guy.
So the sub guy on the cross country team, and I had to do a meet. So it was like, I don't know, it's like a 20K race. I have never been more exhausted because I wasn't even that good at cross country skier. I did it like 5 times. It's just like they put the semi-decent athletes in the school. And it is so exhausting. And so to be able to do that at Olympic caliber and then stop and friggin' shoot a little target from whatever ways away is amazing. And I think about, like, these guys miss a target and then they have to do that little loopy lap thing in there. So you miss a target and it like
gotta go all the way
crushes
around.
you. And also, Jerry Seinfeld used to do this routine about biathlon, which was hilarious because it doesn't make any sense, right? Like cross-country skiing and shooting. And Jerry would be like, biathlon, that's one sport I don't get. Are they going to have summer biathlon where you swim 5 laps and then you strangle someone? Right?
It's pretty good.
Which is true.
Impersonation.
It's a good bit.
You got the voice locked down over there.
But it's so true. It's like such a random thing. But I guess that's what they do in the Nordic, right? They ski and they used to, back in the 1800s, kill their dinner that night. So I guess it makes sense to them. But for people sitting at home on the couch in North America, it's like, what are they doing?
What is going on?
But it's
here?
kind of amazing,
It's
right?
incredible.
Kind of, when you watch it, it's kind of amazing.
I think that's the best part of the Olympics is just like learning these sports that you've never watched before and like being all in on them after.
Yeah, and then you're done for the next 4 years. You don't care again.
But when it comes back, you're back in, and like learning the rules, it takes you a couple watches, and then you're all in yelling at your TV like, what are they doing?
When I found out I was hosting the 2010 Olympics, I studied like I was taking the bar exams, like 6 months. I had a binder. I write out stuff. I'm old school that way. I had a binder that was 300 pages thick, stories on like every athlete in every sport in the Olympics. And I would sit there and study it every night and read it. And then I realized when you host, you're up like for about a minute every hour, and you basically have time to say like 15 seconds, and then you throw to the event for 3 hours. So I didn't use any of it. So I'm going to be much leaner
in this time.
Yeah, in Milan, because it was really a gigantic waste of time. Sorry, if you want to be a host someday, do prepare. I mean, I say that, but don't over prepare like that.
It's always good to be prepared. But
yeah, it was ridiculous.
But those ones, that's really
very
good insight there on. But it's true. Like when you're watching it, you're really just, I guess, like a traffic cop almost, where you're throwing to all these different things.
That's the thing about hosting. Like play-by-play people, whatever the sport is, they need to know way more. As a host, you're filling in the intermissions and the pregame shows, and you can tell stories. And obviously, you have to know your sport, but you don't have to, know the 5th member of the biathlon team from Zimbabwe or whatever, right? Whereas if you're doing play-by-play, you better know everybody who's competing in it. So hosts, I think, can be the lazy man sportscaster, I think, right?
You make it look very easy, and you're very talented and good at what you do.
Well, if you don't know somebody, you can just get away with it, right? So, if you don't know the players on the like Austrian team, you'll just be like Darren Drager. What do you think of the Austrians?
And then let Darren Drager deal with the Austrians.
Can't worry about it. How about that Austrian third line? Tell me about it, Dregs.
Different look on the third line for Austria today.
That's right.
What can we make of this?
What do we make of this?
Oh, man. And then Drager's got to answer the hard ball there.
That's right. Let him do all the work.
We're very appreciative of your time. I got a few more questions for you. Golf is obviously a big part of your life.
Yeah.
And you love playing. You're out there all the time.
Played yesterday.
What is the angriest you've ever been on a golf course? Do you get angry on a golf course, or are you pretty calm?
I'm really calm with my own game.
Okay.
I don't throw clubs or anything. I really do love playing. I got angry once last year. I was on my own course, and basically the 8th hole goes this way and the 9th hole goes this way. And some guy who I didn't know had hit his ball like towards kind of our fairway.
Okay.
And I was waiting for him. And the kind of etiquette at our course would be you'd kind of wait for the guys to tee off, and then you'd come to your ball. But he came to his ball, and then he was just standing there for like 3 minutes, like going through this crazy pre-shot routine, which, again, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I finally hit because my aiming point was like 50 yards to the left of him. So he was never, and I'm not great golf, but I'm decent enough golf that I'm not going to.
You're not going to hit.
Yeah, so I hit it not anywhere near him. And so we start walking up, and he starts screaming at me, going, "You could have killed me! You could have killed me!" And I'm like, dude, like, first of all, you weren't supposed to be here, and second of all, I didn't hit anywhere near you, and he's screaming like he wanted. I'm like, am I gonna fight here? Am I gonna be in the front of the Toronto Sun like Duthie assaulted or whatever, or Duthie assaults someone? It's like, you can't really do that. Not that I'm a fighter anyway, but I'm like, is this guy gonna want to fight me over this? And thankfully, the 3 guys in my foursome got a lot madder than me and were like screaming at him, and he kind of cowered away. But that was the only. I was a little bit rattled by that because I don't get in any. I'm very non-confrontational. Yeah. So I think the last fight I was in was like grade 6, and it was against a cat.
You win?
Yeah, took him down.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, that was probably the anger. I've probably been internally angry. Probably when I probably could have come up with a better story, like missing a putt to win something. I'm sure I've done that plenty of times, but I keep that all boil up that inside, and then I just cry in my car on the way home. Just loser.
It's that in your high school football.
Yeah.
Those
are the missed putts and the championship losses.
Got a lot of scars. Yeah,
I love it.
Like O-Dog and I lost this TV match that is on YouTube somewhere, and I did play terrible that day. And it was all fun for TV. Yucks. Tough loss. And then I do remember getting in the car that day and just like screaming at myself because I was such a loser. Because I basically duffed this chip that we had on like the 17th hole, and that one still hurts. Why are you bringing up all these horrible memories? Were you with Gallagher in that
one or Kadri? Who were you?
No, that was the very first one we did. It was me and O against Jerry D and Kyle Dubas.
Oh, wow. What a pair.
Yeah, that was the original.
That's incredible.
That was the original version of this thing. And this year it was me and Brendan Gallagher against O and Kadri. There's another story to that one, which, we lost in a playoff, but it might have been some of a little bit of shenanigans with the strokes and that. I don't want to cause a controversy.
Maybe a
BarDown
rematch
podcast.
is in the books.
Let's just say there was a little bit of creative scoring going on there.
Okay.
We got to do a BarDown versus Duthie. Best ball from BarDown just versus him.
Oh no, come on.
We're not very good.
We don't have many.
That good.
We have one guy, Cam, who is...
Yeah, he's a scratch. But after that,
really
it's
good,
just...
That,
we don't know if we're left-handed or right-handed.
You guys have you done any golf content?
A little bit.
Because I do think there's a place for average golfers golfing, people watching it, if you can make it entertaining. Yeah. So we got to come up with something for the spring.
Let's do it.
Where you get a few of us, like maybe it's like BarDown versus like, I don't know, me and O or something like that, and we have a match, because I think it would be super fun.
I'm into it. Yeah. I'm into it. The last question I have for you is one I think we'll tie it all together. If a player is writing a book 10 years from now with short stories and calls you up and says, Tell me one that you want to have in here.
Or like,
what story are you telling?
About my career or whatever?
About your career, about any interaction you've had, something that you think would fit that kind of.
So I wrote a book called The Guy on the Left. I'm not here to plug every book I've ever written. So I told a lot of my stories in that book. God, I got so many stories. I don't know. Do you want a funny thing that happened on air? Do you want a crazy thing? We almost killed a guy on the last day of the Olympics in 2010. Oh, boy. You want that story? Yeah, so Crosby scores the goal. They win the gold. I have to leave straight from the arena after the post game to go to BC Place to do the closing ceremonies with Lisa LaFlamme. We were hosting the closing ceremonies, which was a crazy show in itself. Like, some Australian guy directed it. And do you remember there was like giant inflatable moose and beavers? And I thought if Canada had lost that game, it would be the worst closing ceremony ever, because everyone would be so angry about all the Canadian stereotypes. But because we won and everybody was drunk, it was like the greatest closing ceremony ever, right? Just all these really lame stereotypes. Anyway,
lean in.
That ends. We get in a car. It's been the craziest day of my entire career, really. The gold medal game and then hosting the closing ceremonies of the Olympics. We have a volunteer driver who's to drive us back to the wrap party or whatever. And Lisa's in the front seat, I'm in the back seat, and I close my eyes for the first time and kind of go, oh, man, what a day. And right at that second, we go through an intersection, and some drunk guy runs across, and we smash him head on. And I know this doesn't sound like a funny story, So, and this poor driver is like a 23-year-old girl volunteer. And she's like, oh my God, I just killed a guy. I just killed a guy. And Lisa's being the ever professional, just relax. And I get out of the car and the guy's down. And there happened to be an ambulance like right there, basically. And they come running over and hook this guy up with an IV. And I get back in the car. And this is the most selfish thought I've ever had in my life. I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss the rap party. And, you know, because you just worked the Olympics for 14 days.
Yeah, you're ready for that.
Terrible thought. I'm a horrible human being for that. But I knew the guy wasn't dead at that point.
Yeah.
But so they're trying to hook him up with an IV. And this poor driver, we're trying to console her. She's sobbing. And then all of a sudden, the guy jumps up. And he's like, I think he was Irish or something. And he was drunk. And he basically pulls the little thing out of his arm. And he's like, wrong. He goes, sorry, man. No, that's not an Irish accent. I can't do an Irish accent. Whatever the accent was, he's like, my bad. And he just goes running off down the street. And the ambulance guy's trying to chase him. And I'm like, did this just happen? And so
never to be heard of again.
That's probably not my greatest story ever, but I don't know. We were talking about Olympics, so it was stuck in my mind.
I like it.
There's one to go in some version of Beauties at some point along the line.
I love it. I love it. Well,
Beauties 12.
Beauties 12.
Yeah.
Well,
Extra certified beauties.
Extra. You know why it's called certified beauties is the book companies, they don't like doing naming things two. Like they didn't just want to call it
more of like a
I said,
movie
why don't we just
thing?
call it Beauties 2 because it's the same thing. And they said, no, it's got to be maybe like the movies. They want to have, you know, Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. That's a reference you guys won't get. But there's a breakdancing movie in high school that we made fun of. And the sequel was called Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, so they had this name. So that's why it's Certified Beauties. And so if I do another one, I'm going to have to call it
a different
BarDown Beauties or
BarDown.
something like that.
Wow,
Hey?
there we go. It kind
Got a
of
good ring to
rolls
it.
off the tongue. Well,
Yeah.
wherever you get your books, right here.
Yeah.
And you might see
Certified
him.
Beauties, and you might see them buying some more.
That's right. Buy 9.
Thanks so much. for
Oh, no,
joining
thanks so
us.
much
Yeah.
for having me, boys. Always a pleasure. You guys do awesome work. I'm a massive fan of everything BarDown does. So thank you for letting me be a small part of your little show today.